Hello and welcome back to yet another session on grammar and usage. So we completed present tense. We started with the simple present, then we did present continuous, present perfect and present perfect continuous. We also understood how the verbs are formed in these tenses. And it's not just about the time that you have to bear in mind, it's also the incidents, the events, and also we have to logically think and understand where to use those tenses. We also discussed regular and irregular verbs, dynamic and stative verbs as well. Those are important for you to have a better understanding of how to use the tenses, or how and where and which all tenses should accompany the V3 form, which the V2 or the ing form, and where not to put the stative verbs and so on. So if you have an understanding, a thorough understanding of that, your usage of grammar will also better daily. Okay. So, grammar is all about usage, children. It's not just about mugging up the rules. When you learn the rules, I did tell you in the beginning also tips and tricks on learning grammar or communicating well. You can do the traditional method. There is no harm learning all the rules and regulations and then applying it. Some students or some may be able to do it. It depends on how they are with the linguistic structure or section, or how they are able to understand the structure of language as such. Maybe there are students who are into it, but most often it is difficult, and we may be able to get a pass mark or may be able to score well for our grammar exams or competitive exams. However, using it in our daily conversation or our communication might do us a lot of, it might not be, you may not be able to use it effectively, or you may have some sort of inhibition to use which tense and whether you are going wrong or not, especially when it comes to when you are asked to speak in front of a crowd. Again, you lose all your confidence. It's only because it's not because you don't know how to speak. It's because you know the grammar, you know all the rules and regulations, but it's about this lack of confidence. So we have to first and foremost break the inhibition towards this language, be it any language. That inhibition should be broken first. Okay, so to break that, constant use of constant use of that particular language is essential. So grammar is not learned by studying the rules. It's learned by constant practice. Okay, read English newspapers. That's easier method. It's the easiest method to learn grammar. You not just understand, or your brain picks up everything automatically. You don't even have to sit and learn. Your brain automatically picks up grammar when you read English newspapers or articles. Okay, you also learn new vocabulary. Okay, let's get to our topic, and today's topic is simple past. We begin with past tense. So past tense is all about the past. Okay, and we start with the first form, and that is a simple past. Now this perhaps we can call this as the most powerful of all tenses, of all these tenses. The simple past, or the simple past, or past simple, anyhow you can call it, it's considered to be the most powerful tenses. Now we use this tense so often about all kinds of things. We can use them to tell someone what you did yesterday. You can also use it to define a moment of the past, say 2000 years ago. And you can also speak about a defining moment of your life from in your say in your childhood, or your something that a defining moment, or something that you consider very memorable in your life that happened in the past. So it is often used in almost all kinds, to talk about all kinds of things. Okay, so it is used. Now where do we use it? It is used to indicate an action completed in the past, and it often occurs with verbs and adverbs of phrases, phrases of past time. So it's normally accompanied with adverbs of time, and which shows past tense. For instance, the ship sailed yesterday. Now yesterday, week, last year, these are adverbs of time, right? So they are accompanied, normally the verb is accompanied with what? With the adverbs of time. The time is shown here, that's another clue. So these events, it speaks about an action that has been completed in the past. Okay, and not very complicated also. The ship sailed yesterday. I came here last week. She left school last year. Okay, so look at the verb. The verb here is sailed, right? This is adverb of time. And I came here last week. Came is the verb, the V2 form. And last week is the adverb of time. She left school last year. Again, left is the V2 form. So we call it for an easier way, we use the term V2 for simple past tense. Simple past tense we use V2. For past participle we use the term V3. V1 is normally used for the root form of the verb. The verb without being transferred or changed into the past or the ing form. The root form, the present form, the beginning form, like work, eat, sleep, all these are the root form, the base form. So that we call it V1. Okay, V2 is normally the simple past tense, and V3 is the past participle, which we learnt last class. So the past event, the ship sailed yesterday, I came here last week, she left school last year. So the verb is normally followed by what? Adverb of time. Clear? And it shows what? It shows a past action completed, which is completed. Now let us use this, or let me explain this with a timeline. Now look at this timeline, my dear children. Now if you look at this, when you use simple past, we talk about a time before now. Now this is the present. Okay, we talk about the past, which is finished, it's over. All right, and it can be an action, it can be an event, it can be a situation, all that started and ended in the past, not ended right now or not continuing. It started and it ended in the past. Look at this: event 1, event 2, event 3, any event, any situation, any action that began in the past and is over, done, completed, not at present but before, it's already over, long time back, or it's over, like for instance yesterday. All right, so anything that is over from now, just it's over, it's completed, the action is complete, that is, for that you use simple past tense. Okay, now represents present, so anything that happened before it. These X that mark, I have that these X's here that I have marked shows past events, past situations, past actions, anything. Right. That started and ended in the past itself. Okay. All right. Now we will see how we use this in a sentence. Let's analyze how we use V1 form of the verb. Let's start with this verb. Let's use the verb clean. Now clean is the V1 form. Okay, V1 form, the base form. Okay, don't get scared with all these terminologies. It's just for our easy usage. Instead of saying present, past and past participle, we just use it for easier communication. We use the term V1. Now this is the V1 form, the base form, the root form of the verb. Now we are going to change this into the past tense. Now let me ask you, is this verb a regular verb or an irregular verb? What verb is it? It is a regular verb, right? It is not an irregular verb, it's a regular verb. Okay, let's see, and how do we form the past tense for a regular verb? All we have to do is add an ed to it. Okay, sometimes t. We add an ed or sometimes t to it. That's all. So I cleaned. Right? All we did was adding an ed. You cleaned. Then he. It's very simple because everywhere using the past tense, that's why I told you it's the most powerful form of the verb. And not just that, not much, it is not at all complicated. He cleaned, there is no change in it, everywhere it is the same. She cleaned, it cleaned. Okay, any name, all right, say Pinky cleaned, all right, then we cleaned, you as of the whole class, okay, you cleaned, they cleaned. See, it's very easy to use this verb. There's not much of any complication, terrible or complex, sophisticated. It's not sophisticated. You can't call these rules very sophisticated, but yeah, so not much complex rules. It's the same everywhere. Okay, so this is how we use the verb. Now let me ask you, how do you use the irregular verb? What are irregular verbs? Irregular verbs are the ones that do not end in ed form. They have a different form. Like for instance, can you tell me the past form of eat? What is the past form of eat? The past form of eat. Eat is, what is this? Eat is the V1 form. This is the root form. Now what is the past form of eat? Ate. Right? And what is the V3 form? Just don't confuse it with simple past tense. Just for I just want to know if you know it. What's the V3 form of eat? Eaten, right? So eat, ate, eaten, right? V3, V2 and V1. And where do we use the V2 form? We use it for simple past. We use V2 in simple past. Now I want you to bear this in mind because when we start past perfect tense, we are going to dabble with the two. We are going to use both these tenses together. Which one? The simple past tense and the past perfect tense. Okay, both. When we start the past perfect, we are going to use both these tenses. The simple past and the past perfect together in one sentence. So I want you to have this in your mind. Shouldn't forget. Okay, ate is the V2 form. So how would you say? I ate, right? You ate. He, she, it, Chaco, what? Ate. Okay, we ate. They ate. You, as of the whole class, ate. Clear? All right. What about give? How do we write give? I gave, you gave, she gave. Now let's move Chaco and put Niharika. Niharika gave, we gave, you as of the whole class gave, they gave. I hope it's clear. So not a very complex thing to understand. It's quite simple, right? It's not rocket science. Just kidding. Okay, now let's move on to where we use simple past. Yeah, you can use it anywhere to denote the past tense. Let's also try to understand the difference between recent past and distant past. Now, you might have a confusion. So, yesterday, last week, last year, 2000 years before, all these, how can we use simple past? So, there you will find the recent past. You can use it for recent past and distant past, one action and many action. So, that alone, I'll just explain. Now we'll take two examples. Okay, Brian called me last week. And another one, I cooked the same, let's take the same example. I cooked dinner. Okay, Brian called me last week. I cooked dinner. Okay, now let's analyze these two sentences. Look at the first one. First one is, it has a time expression. The time expression, which is the time expression, adverbs of time, or the time expression, what is that? Last week, it can be last month, it can be yesterday, it can be day before yesterday, last year, anything. Okay, so this is the time expression, and here you use, you don't see any time expression. Do you see any time expression here? No. I cooked dinner. It could mean I just finished cooking, or I may have finished cooking 5 hours back, or I may have just, I have completed, I finished cooking yesterday, I just have to reheat it. So it could mean anything. So it is without the time expression. So you can use this with the time expression and without the time expression. Simple past tense can be used to denote an action in the past with or without time expression. Okay, next one, the recent past and the distant past. All right, now what is this recent past and distant past? It shows recent past. I'll give you another example, and the distant past. So here the first sentence is for using with time expression, and this one is using it without the time expression. So here, next one, simple past can denote recent past or distant past. It can be used to denote recent past or distant past. For instance, we visited her yesterday. Okay. She lived in Calicut. Oh, I have to constrain. I'll have to tweak it and write it here. I hope you can see. She lived in Calicut long ago. Okay. So I use this on purpose. The words are used on purpose just to show the difference between the recent past and the distant past. Now, so we use simple past tense to indicate a recent past or a distant past. For instance, recent past is indicated by the expression yesterday, that is an adverb of time. Say, we visited her yesterday. Distant past, she lived in Calicut long ago. So, long ago shows a distant past. Can also mean the Trojan War was fought long ago. Okay, or you have anything about history also, anything distant past. All right. Then it can also be used. Another place where you can use this is, there are many places. Since we have time constraint, we are going to just look at few things. It can mean one action. Simple past can mean one action. It can mean many actions. It can be used for one action, or it can be used for many actions. For instance, she talked to her manager. Okay, they invited their friends ordered pizza. Okay, and watched a movie. Can you, is it seen? And watched a movie. Okay, so it can mean, it can be used for one action and many actions. When it is used in one action, you will have only one verb here. See, one verb. When it is many actions, it is indicated with usage of many verbs. Invited, ordered, watched. So it shows many actions. Simple past tense can be used with a time expression or without a time expression. Ryan called me last week. I cooked dinner. So with the time expression here in the first sentence is last week. In the second sentence, we do not have any time expression. So you can use simple past tense here. In the second one, it is used to indicate recent past or distant past. It can be used to indicate recent or distant past. We visited her yesterday. Okay, it shows a recent past, yesterday. Distant past is long ago. is shown to indicate distant past. She lived in Calicut long ago. The third one, it is used to indicate one action. She talked to her manager. Talked, one verb. Okay, talked, one action, one verb. Many actions, it can be used with many actions or many verbs also. They invited their friends, ordered pizza and watched a movie. Invited, ordered, watched a movie. I hope you understood. So you have to study the regular and irregular verbs, only then you will be able to make sense. Okay, so those things, there are certain things that you have to learn by heart. There are certain things, not everything, but certain things, like for instance that I told you, where do you use the static verbs, where do you use the dynamic verbs. Static verbs are never used in front of continuous tenses. So you should know which are static verbs and which are dynamic verbs. Then you must understand regular and irregular. There is no other way other than to learn it by heart. Okay, since English itself is a funny language, it keeps changing. So it keeps changing in the sense there is a lot of, you can't simply apply the rule and then say, oh, it's going to be like this. No, you can't. It has a lot of variations. Okay, now let's come to the simple past itself. Let's continue with simple past. I'll give you some more examples. Now the examples would be the simple examples with was and were, using was and were. What is a simple form, or the which auxiliaries do you use for simple present? In simple present we use the auxiliaries am, is and are, right? Without any other verbs. I am a teacher, you are a student, he is a student, etc. Right? So these are which one? Present, simple present. Yes, where what about was and were? Was and were indicates simple past when they are used alone. I was tired last night. Where was Annie yesterday? The weather was good last week. All these are examples with was and were, which indicates past. Okay, you were late yesterday. They weren't or they were not here last Sunday. See, you always have a time expression, right? So in the question form, it would be where. Now remember, this is the question, this is the auxiliary. The difference lies in the spelling and meaning. So where were you last night? Now why do you use where here? Because you were. Okay. And with a negative sentence, I'll use the verb contraction. Okay, I don't have to teach you verb contractions because you are college students. You have already learned that in your smaller classes. You weren't home yesterday. Okay, you weren't home yesterday, or you weren't here yesterday. So weren't, were plus not, which has it is a negative sentence. When it is in the form of a question, sorry, I forgot to put the question mark. So when it's in the form of a question, it will be, you invert it, where were you last night? The question, and then you have the auxiliary where, because you use you were. Where were you last night? And with a positive sentence, I was tired yesterday. Alright. Now let's see where you use was and where you use were. Now this formation will not I was, you were, he was, we were, you were, they were. Okay, so where do you use was? Now here you will use was with he, she and it and I. I was, you were, he was, she was, it was. We were, you were, they were. Okay. I was present. You were present. He was present, she was present, it was present. We were present, you were present, they were present. As of simple past tense. Okay. So that's about it for simple past. We will begin with the past continuous in the next class. So until then, thank you and keep safe.